Am I the a-hole for making cinnamon bread for my sisters-in-law when my mother-in-law is allergic to cinnamon? I, a 22-year-old female, have started making sourdough bread instead of buying it, and I share pictures of my freshly baked loaves on my social media stories. Several people, including my in-laws, have expressed interest in having a loaf. Currently, we are visiting our family, and I brought my starter and baking supplies along to make loaves for those who asked, while staying at my mom's. I made 3 loaves for my in-laws. My sisters-in-law, who are in high school, wanted a cinnamon swirl loaf, so I made that for them. My mother-in-law claims she is allergic to cinnamon, so I made her 2 small loaves, 1 regular and 1 cheddar jalapeno. I baked her loaves first to avoid any cross-contamination and kept the cinnamon loaf in a separate container. When I delivered the bread, I made sure to point out which one was cinnamon. Today, while we were there, my mother-in-law decided to cut herself a slice of the cinnamon bread, stating she just wanted to taste it. We all advised her against it since she claims to be allergic to cinnamon. She insisted she would avoid the cinnamon swirl and only eat the plain part. After some protest, it was clear she would not listen. She ate it, said it tasted good, and cut herself another slice. After some time passed with no reaction, my husband and I thought perhaps her allergy was not as severe as she believed. We returned to my mom's house, and shortly our phones were flooded with messages. My mother-in-law claimed the bread gave her terrible stomach issues and accused me of attempting to harm her by providing bread with cinnamon. My husband explained that I took all necessary precautions to keep the bread separate and that eating the cinnamon bread was entirely her choice. However, she and now my husband's grandmother insist I should have never brought cinnamon bread into their house and that I should have simply told my sisters-in-law no. I thought it would be fine, as I have seen cinnamon rolls and snickerdoodle cookies in their house before, and she never seemed to touch those. Hey, I have a cinnamon allergy. I always bring my own dessert and would absolutely never expect family or friends to not have what they want because of my allergy. You are absolutely not the a-hole, and your mother-in-law sounds like a whole lot of work. Am I the a-hole for taking over my parents' condominium and offering to give my siblings the current market value when I sell it? My parents bought a condominium in South Carolina years ago for about $100,000. It is worth at least 3 times that amount now, maybe more. They are older now and living in a retirement home, and maintaining the condominium has become too much for them. I stepped in and offered to take over the mortgage and handle everything going forward: mortgage payments, maintenance, property taxes, and so on. There is about $29,000 left on the mortgage. At some point in the future, I might sell the condominium. To keep things fair, I told my siblings that when I do, I will give them their share of what the condominium is worth today, the current market value. That way, they still get something out of it, even though they are not paying the mortgage or doing any upkeep. Now my family is acting as if this is somehow unfair. I do not really get it. I am the one covering all the costs and making sure the place does not fall apart, and I am still giving them a portion of what it is worth now, even though they will not pay any bills going forward. My family suggested I buy it for a bit less than market value, but I do not have that money. I just thought I was doing the responsible thing by keeping it in the family while also making sure my siblings still benefit. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Hi everyone, thank you for your input. There are too many comments to reply to, but just to clarify some questions I am seeing, this is the offer I made to my family. Nothing has been done yet. Our parents are still the owners of the condominium, yes, and I am currently not making any payments. It is worth approximately $300,000 now, and there is only $29,000 remaining on the mortgage. When you sell the condo, why would you not split it based on the sale price minus the $29,000 you paid, which you get off the top, minus taxes and other upkeep, which you would get off the top, minus the realtor fee? The $29,000 is only about 10% of the total value, and you coming in at the end and paying 10% in mortgage expenses, plus maybe another $10,000 in other expenses, does not mean you should get the bulk of the money from the sale. The fairer solution would be to take your expenses from the sale. So you would take approximately $39,000 out of a $300,000 sale price, leaving $261,000 in equity. Then all siblings should share the expense of the realtor fee. For a $300,000 house, 6% would be $18,000 paid to the realtor at the time of closing, just like you would be paid approximately $39,000 at the time of closing. Then the remainder should be split 3 ways. $300,000 minus $39,000 to you for expenses. Realtor fee. $300,000, $57,000 equals $243,000. Assuming there are 3 kids from your parents, $243,000 divided by 3 would be $81,000 to each child. You would receive $81,000 plus the $29,000 mortgage plus approximately $10,000, or whatever the actual expenses are. So you would get 1/3 of the sale plus the full amount you paid for the mortgage and other expenses. So approximately $120,000 versus $81,000 for your siblings. Edit. My initial response was based on assuming the parents did not need the money from the sale or did not want the hassle of managing the property and were okay with the original poster's plan. In which case, I was pointing out that the original poster's contribution to his parents' home is not enough to cut the original poster's siblings out of sharing in their parents' asset, in my opinion. The best scenario is definitely for the parents to keep the asset for their future needs, given that the cost of health care, memory care for Alzheimer's and dementia can be $12,000 a month in some cases. So the parents should be managing the asset to best benefit themselves, unless they are so well off that the $300,000 or rental income from it will not matter. Am I the a-hole for removing all phone tracking from my parents, who keep using it to see my location for non-emergencies? Here is the situation. I, a 24-year-old female, am married and live in a different state than my parents. I have had the iPhones, Find My Friends, application since I had a phone at 12 years old, which my parents set up. When I got married, my husband found it strange that my parents could see my location once we moved out, but I just figured they would want it on for safety. Come 2 years later, my 21-year-old brother, who still lives with my parents, gives me a heads up that my parents were judging my actions based on my location. I figured it would be a good time to remove that application anyways and thus deleted their ability to see my location. This escalated into a whole situation where my parents are now saying that it was providing them comfort and safety to know where I was, and it was just a mishap and a bad day for them. Additionally, my dad decided to retaliate and remove my access from all streaming services he paid for and threatened to remove my brother from the Wi-Fi for tattling as well. Am I the a-hole for removing their access to see my location? My husband has never heard of parents seeing their children's location once they have moved out, but my parents seem to think it is the end of the world. Just wanted to get other people's thoughts. Thanks. Edit. Thank you all for the advice and thoughts. I originally posted because I have heard of other families sharing locations as adults, so I felt like the odd one out for not wanting this. However, you have helped me realize this is not normal. Additionally, I want to mention that I am completely fine with paying for my own streaming services and already pay for the ones that do not allow sharing on my own. This is the only thing my parents had been providing financially. I brought it up as a point of their reaction to help provide context for the situation. Not the a-hole. Even when you were under the impression that the tracking feature would only be used for strictly safety-related reasons, you had every right to stop using it, because you are an adult with a right to make your own choices. Once it became clear that your parents were using the application to just judge your life, any remaining reason you may have had to keep it switched on went out the window. Keep it as it is and do not look back. Am I the a-hole? My husband woke me up in the middle of the night because of a dream. My husband can sometimes be a bit of a drama queen. He becomes quite needy when he is sick, is very in touch with his feelings, and is communicative. I love him, but sometimes he can be a bit much. Last week, I got COVID-19. I was in bed for 4 days, and he slept in the spare room to minimize exposure. Last night, he slept in bed with me for the second night back. At 1:00 a.m., he rolled out of bed onto the floor, moaning loudly. I thought he was having a heart attack. He got up, walked into the bathroom, and then fell to the floor. I was up, trying to figure out what to do because all he was doing was moaning. He finally asked me to pour water over him, so I got a cup and poured water over him. I felt him, and he was pretty hot, so I figured he got COVID-19. Then he asked me to turn on the shower for him, so I did. He was still laying on the floor, not talking. He got in the shower and stayed for a while, eventually sitting in the shower. He finally got back in bed, and I was prepared to get him some medicine to bring down his fever. Then, he told me he had a bad dream. This entire drama was because of a dream, not COVID-19 or a heart attack, but a dream where he was being stabbed repeatedly. To top it all off, he fell right back to sleep, and I was up for 2 hours trying to get back to sleep. Needless to say, I woke up very upset. He felt that I was not being sensitive to his needs. I have never had a bad dream like that, so maybe I was not sensitive enough, but at the same time, who does that? Who wakes their spouse up in a panic, does not communicate, and then hops back into bed without regard for their sleeping spouse, only to get their feelings hurt because I was tired and irritated? A little backstory. My father is a narcissist and frequently did things like this to my mother and us. He would lay down in the middle of the hallway when he was sick and make us walk over him while he moaned in agony. He would throw temper tantrums because he was not the center of attention or have angry outbursts and throw things. Last night, I experienced a PTSD flashback because of what my husband did. I am officially diagnosed with PTSD caused during my childhood by my father and have participated in EMDR therapy. I also take prescription medicine and melatonin to help me sleep and stay asleep. Sleep is an important commodity in my world. We have been together for 3 years and married for 2. This is not our first marriage. We are in our 50s and have grown children. None of my other relationships involved random nightmare drama. So, am I the a-hole? Update. After posting this and receiving feedback, I talked to him about my past experiences with my father, the fact that I was genuinely debating calling 911 and asked if this had happened before. He knows about my sleep troubles, so we discussed it a bit. We actually do have a great relationship. I love him. I just did not know how to respond to this because it had never happened to me before, and I was really tired this morning. I even took a nap today, which my doctor advises against to keep my sleep regular. I found out this had happened before, about 2 years ago, before we started living together. He said it happens when he is stressed. We do not share finances except for home expenses, and he is a freelancer, so he is stressing about taxes. I told him that we need to see a doctor if this gets worse, just to check if there is anything we can do to alleviate it in the future, and he needs to talk to me about what is stressing him. Has he ever taken Ambien?